Disposition of earnings. Disposition of earnings. The periodic split of earnings, net profit, into dividends paid and earnings retained for investment is watched closely by shareholders and financial community because of the trade-off between cash living and the financial system and the retained residual, which builds up the owner's equity and is source of funds of management's use. Sinasabi po dito na ang dividends paid and earnings return for investment is always checked by shareholders and financial community. Kasi ang exchange daw po between the two at sa cash living sa financial system ay ang the one that builds the owner's equity at siyang pinagkukunan ng funds na siyang gagamitin sa bagong pagmamanage ulit. The trade-off amounts to giving value directly to the shareholders as part of TSR versus the reinvesting of the funds for future creation. This is not either or proposition, however, because dividend policy is hardly ever changed abruptly. Instead, the board of directors usually consider whether the dividend should be increased incrementally as earnings grow, focusing on the ability of the dividend record which shareholders can expect from the company. Only in direct circumstances with dividend be reduced or omitted cash dividends are most common form of payment, although the stock dividends are also frequently used if regular cash dividend is paid as well. Stock dividends will in the end result in fractionally higher cash dividends. So, ang board of directors daw po, which means sila yung as a higher position, ay nagpo-focus lang sa company stability and defend sa dividend record, which is shareholders na ang shareholders ay nag-expect kung anong ina-expect nila sa isang company. Dividends per share. Dividends are generally declared on the per share basis every quarter by corporation's board of directors. The elected representatives of the shareholders. Dividends policy is the prerogative of the board, which has legal authority to set payments at any level it deems appropriate. Since the market value of the common stock is particularly influenced by both dividends paid and dividends anticipated, the board generally deals with the periodic decision carefully. TRW Incorporated paid common dividends of $1.24 per share in 1997 and $1.135 in 1996 versus declared dividends in $1.24 and $1.17 respectively. Na ang dividends ay nasa-share lang po sa mga elective na representatives lamang. Dividend yield. Amount of dividends paid per share can be related to current of average share prices to derive the dividend yield. Dividend yield, annual dividend per share over average market price per share equals %. This is a measure of the return of the owner's investment from cash dividends alone in the case of TRW that 52-week range of stock prices from January 1997 to December 1997 was only $1.19 to $47.30 with an average of approximately $4.25. The dividend yield of $1.24 per share does amount to 2.3% of the average price. The ratio falls short as a basis for comparison with other companies. However, because dividend policies differ widely, as we stated earlier, the more important measure as TSR, combination of dividends and market appreciation or decline of the stock. Payout retention. A ratio commonly used in connection with dividend policy is so-called payout ratio, which represents the proportion of earnings paid out to the shareholders in the form of cash during any given year. Payout ratio, cash dividend per share over earnings per share, equals $1.24 over $4.3 equals 30.8%. In 1996, 34.5%. Because most boards of directors tend to favor paying fairly stable dividend per share, adjusted only gradually, the payout ratio of the company might fluctuate widely in the short run in response of the swings of the earning performance. Over a period of several years, however, the payout ratio can often used in indicate the tendency of directors to reinvest funds in the business versus paying out earnings to the shareholders. There are no firm standard for this ratio, but the relationship is significant, characterizing the style of the corporation. High-growth companies tend to pay out relatively for proportion of the earnings because they prepare their invest earning to support profitable growth. Stable, moderate growth companies to then pay out larger proportion. So this means that ang mga board of directors want nila ang fair or stable dividends per share. At ang pagbaba at pagtaas daw po ng ratio ng isang company ay response based sa kanilang earning performance o kanilang kinikita. At yung high growth companies naman po, mas prefer nila ang mag-payout low kasi mas gusto nilang i-support yung alam nilang kikita o mag-grow. Dividend coverage. Owners are also interested in the degree of which their dividends are covered by earnings and cash flow. Furthermore, they are concerned about the degree to which the proportion of debt and the capital structure and its associated interest and repayment requirements will affect management's ability to achieve reasonable, stable, and growing earnings, and to pay dividends commensurate the owner's expectation. A variety of coverage ratio can be calculated, but they hardly differ from the one we'll take up to the discussion of the lender's point of view. Market indicators. We briefly mentioned key ratios, which are commonly used as indicators of the stock market value. The market earnings ratio and the market book ratio. The subject of the market valuation will be covered in more detail in chapter 11 of 1. Price-earning ratio. The simple relationship between current or expected earnings per share and the current market price of the stock is often quoted by both management and owners. The ratio, also called the earnings multiple, and is used as broad indicator on how stock market is judging the company's earning performance in prospects. The calculation is quite straightforward and relates current market prices and common shares to the most recent available earnings per share on annual basis. Earnings multiple, the price-earning ratio, market price per share over earnings per share equals factor. The results of the factor with diluted earnings differ significantly from the basic earnings per share. The calculation can be done on both bases. The earning multiple is used quite commonly as rough rule of thumb and valuing the companies for purposes of acquisitions to arrive at a first approximation of value. Earnings multiples are simple overall approximation of the market's current judgment of industry and company risk versus past and prospective earnings performance. They are based on various investor services and are related to total market averages as well as average price earnings and multiple select industry groups. Earnings multiple will tend to be higher in emerging industries such as technology company or internet-based firms than in more established industry. The reason of this divergence lies in the collective expectation of the market about the ability of an industry to achieve superior growth and technological breakthrough. The reverse of the earnings per share formula is the so-called earnings yield, which relates earnings per share to the market price. It is sometimes used to express the current yield of the owner enjoys, but can be misleading as earnings are not normally paid out full as dividends. The real return of the shareholders is a combination of dividends received and appreciation declined of the stock. And that's all. Thank you so much.